I'm just doing a very quick intro, say hello, and we're going to go on straight on to Iskandar from Nudge, who's going to do a what's new on the platform, and then I'm going to come back on and give a quick rundown of what happened over the last year and the last couple of months as everyone's been away. So we're going to, first up, Iskandar from Nudge with what's going on.
Hello everyone, can you hear me in the back? Yeah? Good. Camera? Sound good? Great. Okay, well, welcome to 2009 everyone. It's been, last year I think was pretty amazing. I think this year is going to be even better. I'm just going to cover some of the things that have changed since the last Garage, which was in November. The most important thing is, oops. Haha, we're ahead of ourselves. What? Oh. Thanks. The most important thing that came out recently that Facebook announced are these custom tags, which allows developers to basically extend the FBML. So you can write your own FBML tags, you can have your own namespace. FBML is XML, so you can just have your own namespace. You can create public tags, which allows other app developers to use your tags. So basically, Facebook have said, here's FBML, go crazy. And we'll see how crazy it gets. They've given some good examples, which I'll move on to after this. There's an initial performance benefit in terms of if you have a lot of static content or a lot of UI elements that are the same across pages, you can just create your own custom tag for that element, and you get to send less data across the wire to Facebook. So you've got a benefit there, and also it helps you simplify your markup, which can be a benefit if you've got really big apps. At the moment, they're only doing this with FBML. They plan, like most features that they roll out, FBML support is first, and the XFBML comes later, stuff for Facebook Connect and for iframe apps. So at the moment, this only works for non-iframe apps. What you can put in these tags is basically static content. However, within that static content, you can use things like JavaScript, FBJS, Ajax, if you need to call your server to get data. There's some new API methods, which you should have a look at if you want to use these. An interesting thing, if you're just getting started, is you can use the get custom tags call on an existing app that's already got public tags, and you can see what their code is. So if you're just starting out and want to see how people are doing it, people like you can do that. Just find the app ID and plug that in. The first example is Causes, which is one of the biggest apps now. And as you can see, it's just a simple chunk of XML with some attributes. And that ends up being rendered as this. So if you do want to even do app mashups, this is a good way to start. The next one is slightly more complex, but again, it's just simple XML. You can see that you've got the I like namespace, and you've got in use here, and this little tag renders to this big thing. So if you have apps that have content that you think is worth sharing with other apps, it's a good thing to investigate and find out if it's going to add any value to your app. It might increase your reach. The next thing that's happened, which has been happening for a while, but it's finally officially live, is Facebook Connect, which I think most of you, is anyone here not familiar with Facebook Connect? So pretty much everyone. Don't worry, I'll quickly cover it for you. Basically, Facebook Connect allows third-party sites to get access to Facebook user data, allows you to share identity, so you can use it as a single sign-on mechanism. You can also integrate with the feed stories, so if someone comes to your site and does an action, you can then post that in Facebook on their newsfeed. Right? So if you come to my site and buy a beer from me, I can say, so-and-so bought a beer, as long as you're over the age of consent, or whatever it is. For Facebook Connect, you get the REST API, you have access to FQL, and you get to use XFBML, which, as I mentioned before, usually gets the features after FBML, but they're constantly working on it. It's been in beta for months. There's a lot of sites that have adopted it now, a lot of big sites, like CNN, CNET, and TechCrunch. Yesterday, it was massive. The CNN Live. Did anyone here get on CNN Live for the inauguration? I was there all day. It was amazing. It got massive use, and they streamed a lot of video, and I think they plugged the CNN coverage plugged Facebook a lot, which I thought was funny. But you can see the value is there, and a lot more sites will start using it. If you don't have a big site and you still want to implement it in, say, your blog, there's plugins that are coming out for WordPress and various blogging software. So it's very easy. Basically, it means that people can come to your blog and log in as a Facebook user and make a comment. And as I mentioned, development ongoing. So that's officially live, and that's the interesting thing. They've made it big. Okay, those are the two major things. There's some minor things to think about that have happened recently, mostly technical things. For example, they've updated their JSON parsing engine, which means if you're making your own JSON instead of using a library, you might need to examine your code to see if it causes any bugs, basically. That happened yesterday. They've added a new feature where you could invite non-Facebook users to use your app on the request form for invites. This means instead of just choosing your Facebook friends, you can type in some email addresses, and Facebook will send to those addresses a special email saying, come to Facebook and join this app. When the user clicks on the link in that email, they get directed through the express registration, which basically means they end up with a Facebook account, and they end up with the app installed, and they end up hitting all the callback URLs. And it's a nice way of getting more users for Facebook and your apps. Last year, they changed the application menu, which is at the bottom of the screen for users, to use bookmarks. And I think there was a lot of outcry because no one really understood how it worked. And lots of clients were confused and lots of users were confused. So they've gone back on that and basically just show the most recently used apps at the top of the menu. They've also changed the application settings editor. If you're a developer, you see this a lot, these pages. They've streamlined the interface, made it easier to use. They've also allowed more freedom for developers to do things in application emails. If users grant you consent to send them emails, you don't have any allocation limits anymore for those users. You can also show some more HTML tags and more FBML, so you can put their name in the subject and personalize it more. And there's a new verification program, which is interesting because I think Facebook has seen a lot of apps that were misleading or said things that they didn't actually do. So they've launched this verification program to try and increase user confidence in these apps. And if you look on the developer blog, you can find out more about it, how to apply, what the process is. I think initially it's only going to be the big players submitting their apps. They say if you submit now, they say they'll let you know sometime first quarter of this year. So I don't think they have a real process in place yet. And that's all for now. Have a good month. If you want to find out more, please check our blog, nudgelondon.com/blog. We try to keep it up to date with things that I've been talking about. And now I'd like to hand you back over to Josh Marsh.